Cheorwon, Gangwon Province. Geumhaksan and Godaesan have changed into their winter clothes. I have been waiting for this snow for months. There was something I had to do once it fell. With just my camera, I begin a day hike up Geumhaksan. The Cheorwon plains are painted in the colors of winter. I'm here today to capture the view of Godaesan across the valley. Long ago, on a winter day just like this, a small group of 10 walked those frozen ridges. Mostly young men in their late teens, strangers who joined the group one by one in Cheorwon. And at the very end of the line was a 21-year-old mother struggling to keep up with a 10-month-old baby girl on her back. It was January 1947. She had been married barely a year and a half. What promised to be a lifetime of love was cut short and silenced by a line they didn't draw. The 38th parallel line was drawn to prevent military clashes between the US and Soviet forces following Japan's surrender. But it became a cage for civilians. Why did a military boundary have to stand in the way of innocent lives? As the control grew tighter, she realized that waiting any longer might mean never meeting again. And with a baby, there was only one way to cross the Hantan River, in the dead of winter when the water would freeze. This is my grandmother's story, and the baby on her back was my mother. They walked for days, only under the cover of night. But I, ever fearful of the dark mountains, race down this snowy forest road before the sun slips away. Then I stop for a moment to admire the golden light of the sunset. According to my research, there's a 90% probability that the group walked along the ridge of Godaesan ahead. What is 100% certain is that the sun of 1947 set in this very same direction. Hearing news of more snow, I visit the old downtown area of Cheorwon, now rebuilt as a history park. Once a thriving hub where railways met, Cheorwon sits north of the 38th parallel. This means from the division of Korea in 1945 until the war in 1950, this area belonged to North Korea. The province of Gangwon exists on both sides of the border. During the Soviet administration, Cheorwon was the capital of the North's Gangwon province. The ruins of a massive Labor Party building still stand here. In front of it, a stopwatch ticks away, over 700,000 hours of division. My grandmother had given birth and stayed in Dancheon, her hometown. She went to Hamhung to say farewell to her in-laws, then took a train to Wonsan with her 19-year-old brother-in-law. In Wonsan, they transferred to train bound for Cheorwon. Many others from the northeastern region followed the same route. From Cheorwon, where the tracks were severed by the border, they would vanish into the mountains and walk to Yeoncheon, south of the line. Cheorwon was a heavily watched military hub, so people trying to flee south often got off 3 stations earlier at Bokgae Station. I don't know exactly which station she used. With a baby on her back, maybe she could step off at Cheorwon without suspicion. Either way, from Bokgae to the US-controlled area south of the Hantan River, It's over 50 kilometers as the crow flies. From the old Cheorwon station, it's about 35 kilometers. I only recently realized Godaesan was likely her path. I'd been to the summit a couple of times, never knowing the story that lived in this place. I've been waiting for winter to tell this story. It's my family's history, but it also belongs to the million others who found their own paths across the 38th parallel between 1945 and 50. The snow is falling thickly now. I returned to Cheorwon the following week, to the Godaesan trailhead. This time, I've got my full pack with me. Cheorwon is the coldest place in Korea. Today's low is minus 17 degrees C. My phone keeps sending alerts. Avoid going outside. About half of the snow-covered fields is North Korea. My grandmother was from Dancheon, South Hamgyong province. When she graduated from high school, the Japan's occupation was nearing its desperate end. At the time, young unmarried women staying at home were being rounded up for forced labor, or worse. She had to find a job and found one at a bank in Hamhung. There she met him, a young man who loved to write, 2 years her senior. After a year or two together, they wed. It was 1945. A 20-year-old bride and her 22-year-old groom. But the whirlwind of history struck the young couple cruelly. No one imagined that the 38th parallel, drawn in the wake of Japan's surrender, would harden into an impassable wall. Her husband, who had moved south to Seoul for work, was suddenly a world away, trapped on the other side of an invisible cage. I imagine her here. This is North Korea. In this freezing cold, she is sneaking along the ridges with her baby. Would the Soviet soldiers be less watchful in this biting cold? What if someone suddenly emerged from the trees? And the baby, will she survive the frost? Lost in those thoughts, I reached the summit. Over there is Geumhaksan, and the snowy dirt road where I rushed down under the setting sun. The peak is empty, nearly minus 20 degrees. Even with 2 layers of gloves, my hands sting. The ice-clad trees endure in silence. Back then, there were Cheorwon locals who made money guiding people toward the line. At the time, an average worker earned about 1,000 won a month. They charged 100 won here, 300 won there, whatever they could get. If they gathered several people and formed a team, a few days of hardship could pay handsomely. They were called Sampalgun, or 38 hustlers. It was a dangerous game. It would be disastrous to get caught, so the guide always walked far ahead alone. The group followed about 100 meters behind, watching the silhouette of his hat in the moonlight. Somewhere along the way, the guide vanished. Lost or gone on purpose, no one knew. Fortunately, in the group there was someone who knew the stars, and they walked south no matter what. When they finally crossed the Hantan River, many had lost multiple toenails from the journey. Oral history records say people walked the ridge lines watching the lights of Cheorwon downtown. The city's location was different then, and I don't know if they climbed this high, but maybe the feeling was something like this. Except now, to the left, the lights of the Armistice Line stretch in a long, silent row under the stars. By morning, snow begins to drift again. As it falls, yesterday's sharp cold softens. A mountain trail means many people have passed this way. Even this ordinary, unassuming trail holds the weight of 1,000 hearts. My grandmother never hiked a mountain again, but she told the escape story over and over again, proudly, like a heroic anthem. That's how the couple of 21 and 23 met again. Fast forward to 2 years ago. After she passed, I found the wedding photo taken in Dancheon in 1945. Was that photo carried across winter Godaesan too? Youth scatters like a legend in the waves of time. My grandfather passed away early, in his early 60s. My grandmother lived alone for 39 years and passed away in mid-December at 99, just 2 weeks short of 100 by Korean age. Her final wish was to have her makeup done beautifully, and she was laid to rest beside her husband. It was her second long journey to find him. This time, she didn't have to cross frozen mountains, but it took 39 years to reach him. Large flakes of snow are falling again in Cheorwon. The tracks to Wonsan, to Hamhung and Dancheon remain disconnected to this day. Just as they were 80 years ago.